How do you remain recognizably human in a world increasingly generated by algorithm? It is a question that I've been thinking about. Every day, we're flooded with information, opinions, advice, personal stories, leadership lessons, and endless updates about what somebody's doing, launching, building, or has achieved. Yet, despite all this communication, many clients, leaders tell me they feel less connected than ever. Why? Information is everywhere. Authenticity is becoming harder to find. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Stay with me and remember to subscribe and follow. Welcome to Unbox the podcast. I'm Sahar Huneidi Palmer, intuitive life mentor, best-selling author, and the creator of the Bima methodology. If you're new here, this season we're exploring the courage to be you. Show up, stay true. Today, I want to talk to you about something that has increasingly been on my mind. And it is something that affects leaders, founders, creators, professionals, and anyone who wants to make meaningful impact in the world. I want to talk about authenticity, leadership, and why some qualities remain unmistakably human, no matter how advanced technology becomes. This morning, I did what many of us do after my coffee, of course, which I always drink slowly and in silence. I reached out for my mobile phone, not because of anything in particular, really, mostly out of habit, but truthfully because I was hoping to find something inspiring that fires up my day. I scrolled through headlines, some were important, some forgettable. Then I came across an article in a publication I generally respect. The article was about a Hollywood actress' choice of maternity dress and whether she was copying someone else or not. I stopped scrolling, not because there was anything about writing about fashion or anything wrong with the article. What interested me was a different question. Who decided that this piece of information has to be in my feed and I am to read it? The article itself was not the issue. The issue was discernment, because every platform and algorithm makes a choice, and so does every publication. Increasingly, many of us allow these choices to shape how we think, what we think, talk, even value, without questioning it. The world has never had more information available at our fingertips than now. Yet, information alone has never been enough. Information has never been enough because information is not knowledge. One of the biggest misunderstandings of our time is believing that access to information automatically creates better thinking or creates wisdom. It does not. Information only becomes knowledge when it is applied, when it passes through our self awareness, when we pause, reflect, and ask questions, when we decide whether something deserves our attention, deserves that space in our mind. This is why people who consume the same information can arrive at different conclusions. One would absorb information without a filter, the other reflects. Awareness has always been an internal process, an inner dialogue. It cannot be outsourced, not to social media, experts, or algorithms, and certainly not to AI. Over the more than 3 decades of working with people from all walks of life, I have noticed that people who grow most are not necessarily those who consume more information or read more. They are the people who take time to think about what they're consuming. They develop discernment. They know what belongs in their life and what doesn't. They learn to separate noise from meaning. They become aligned with who they truly are. The qualities of a leadership cannot be automated. A few days ago, I shared a post online because over the years, I have also noticed a pattern about leaders. The post said, one of the most attractive qualities in a leader is that their self importance doesn't arrive with them. They do not assume others owe them attention, admiration, or a favor. They show up with humility, they do the work, and they let their character speak for themselves, not their status. The response was really interesting because most people remembered qualities like kindness, humility, integrity, consistency, and presence. Character is what people remember most. And humility is not a weakness. It often is an evidence that the person no longer seeks approval or confirmation from the outside. When they truly know themselves, they stop trying to convince everybody else of who they are. I've also noticed that personal branding is failing because you cannot follow the same playbook. Many people are no longer expressing themselves authentically across platforms. They're following a formula. Somebody posts a successful story, and hundreds of people copy that structure. Somebody creates a popular framework, and hundreds would copy it, or subscribe for it, or buy it. Somebody claims they've discovered the secret to growth, influence, and leadership, or personal branding, and suddenly everybody is speaking the same language. I understand why this happens. When we want results, it's very tempting to believe that there's a shortcut. We assume that if something worked for someone else, then why wouldn't it work for us? But the irony is that the moment everyone follows the same playbook, nobody stands out. We become part of a herd. We begin sounding like everyone else, thinking like everyone else, and presenting ourselves like everyone else. In the process, we slowly disconnect from the very thing that makes us unique in the first place. The qualities that attract people are often the qualities we try hardest to edit out. Our perspective, lived experience, insights from observations, our values, and our unique way of seeing the world is edited out. Authenticity doesn't come from following a formula. It comes from having the courage to express what is genuinely yours, your perspective, your experience, using your language. A few years ago, the advice was show more of behind the scenes. Show your mornings, show how you spend your day, show how you spend your evenings, how a product came to be or a brand developed, show up in a podcast, show up on social media, post more than 3 times a day, and so on. But today, something has changed. People have become very good at performing authenticity. The audience has become very good at detecting what is authentic and what is not. Much of what we read today feels strangely familiar. The structure, the language, the emotional tone are similar. The stories are similar, but the essence is missing. And that is what people notice. A client recently came to see me frustrated by her declining engagement on social media. She was posting consistently, following recommended formulas, using trends, using whatever needed to be used. But everything looked correct, yet something was missing. When we explored her content together, we addressed what was missing. It was her. And within weeks of using her own language, her own lived experiences, her own life path, track, or progress, things changed. Not because the strategy changed, but because people connect with people. She became visible, not a template. If this conversation so far grabbed your interest, then please remember to subscribe. Visit what visit my website too for my newsletter. It is where I share my reflection, ideas, and thoughts, as well as practical tools that can make a difference. Subscribing genuinely helps more people find this podcast. So, what can technology do for leaders and what it cannot do? I use technology. Many of my clients use technology. Most businesses will use technology in some way. There is nothing wrong with that. It can save time, it can organize information, it can help us analyze data, extract information from it, and improve efficiency. The problem begins when we mistake efficiency, quick solutions for wisdom, for that human touch, or when we believe that convenience can replace being human. Feeling, thinking, communicating like a human That comes from self-awareness and alignment with who we are. Technology can help organize your thoughts. It cannot become your thoughts. It can help structure communication, but it cannot replace lived experiences, your true character, your true value, your true language. It cannot replace any of that. It cannot replace the subtle qualities that emerge from being human who has done the work of knowing themselves. Perhaps this is what concerns me most, not that technology exists, but that many people are increasingly tempted to outsource the very thing that develops wisdom. The courage to be recognizably you. How do we achieve that? Perhaps the real challenge of this era is not learning how to use technology. Perhaps it is learning how to remain recognizably human while using it. To think for yourself, to question, to develop discernment, to know your values, to express your ideas through your own perspective using your own language. And remember that authenticity is not a branding strategy. It is the natural outcome of self awareness, of being aligned of all aspects of what makes you. Within the Bima technology, I reflect that through the four dimensions of change. I call that Bima: body, emotions, mind, and accountability. When those dimensions are aligned, people experience being authentic. When they're disconnected, people start performing. Authenticity isn't something we manufacture, it is something we uncover through the process of self awareness. Before I leave you, here are my final thoughts. Today, we explored authenticity, leadership, discernment, and the increasing temptation to outsource our thinking. We explored why information is not the same as knowledge, why humility remains one of the most attractive qualities in a leader, why audiences become increasingly sensitive to generic communication, and why authentic influence will begin by knowing yourself. The future will undoubtedly contain more technology, more information, and more automation. But the qualities that makes us trustworthy remain unchanged. Humility, character, discernment, and self-awareness, and the courage to think for ourselves. Perhaps this is the real challenge of our time. Not learning how to use tools, but remembering how to remain fully human while using them. Thank you for spending this time with me on Unbox the podcast. If today resonated, I remind you again to subscribe. It helps more people to follow these conversations. Until next Tuesday, have the courage to be you. Show up, stay true.